Hi, we're Quaint and Curious Volumes. My name is James, and it's Monday in late January. So let's do a Friday reads. Why not? Um, been a few days since I came on and talked to my imaginary booktube friends. So let's see. I haven't Well, let's see. I did. I finished a book that I haven't told you about. It was an audiobook that I started listening to on a drive down to Atlanta to visit my family for not this past weekend, but the one before. You don't need to know the details of my schedule. Anyway, I took a road trip and I listened to All the Beauty in the World by Douglas Bringley and Patrick Bringley, sorry. Patrick Bringley, who used to work at the New Yorker, not as a writer, but as some kind of promotions or publicity function. Anyway, um, you may have heard of this book already. I'm seeing it on like book club lists and things. It's The subtitle is The Metropolitan Museum of Art and Me. Um, so uh, it is a good read or listen. It's very thoughtful nonfiction work. It sort of has a tripartite structure, and not that it's in three sections, but that there are kind of three kinds of books that it is interweaved in each chapter. So it is partly a memoir of Bringley's life in New York as a young person, post collegiate. He lands this, what for some people would be a dream job, working at the New Yorker magazine and putting on their annual festival. Or one of the little anecdotes about that part of his life is him introducing Michael Chabon and Stephen King to each other and saying, Michael Chabon, do you know Stephen King? And apparently they had not, so he got to introduce them, and then he was sort of standing in the wings while Chabon was giving a reading on stage, and he was with Stephen King, and Stephen King was nodding his head and going like, "Yeah, all right, man," while he's hearing Chabon read. Which I mean, Chabon's a great writer, so yeah. But that was a little amusing. And then he confessed that he never read either of them, either King or Chabon. But um, and so he's there. He's got this job. He's kind of pecking away at his own writing, trying to get into the book review sections and all that. And then his older brother contracts a very serious illness, and over the course of I think it's maybe a couple of years, or it happened pretty quick. But he declines and eventually dies. In his 20s. So this is one of these kind of tragic things that will happen. And he was very fond of his brother, who was apparently a brilliant person, and wrote a PhD dissertation on some highly technical subject. And had a young had a wife, and but anyway, after this he's kind of bereft, and he says that he had this job that some would consider a dream job, but he just couldn't stomach going there and doing it every day, and thought that a job like being a museum guard for a place like the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York would be the perfect job for him. And he eventually describes it as the perfect job because you don't have anything to do and you have all day to do it. As long as you are in a place, that's what you got to do. There's no way to speed the clock up. There's not really a way to be lazy. You do have to give people directions, answer some basic questions, and very occasionally tell people not to touch the art, or to stand back, or hey, it's time to leave. Uh, so Right. So part of it is his sort of memoir of a life as a young person in New York. Part of it is the behind the scenes of a great institution. There's a lot of books like this, and so you get to find out from kind of a working class level, what goes on every day at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Now, he barely mentions any curators or directors or the sort of people who go to the Met Gala, but the security guards, we learn, are the largest group of employees. So there's like 600 of them, which was surprising. And it's a union job, and there's all levels of bureaucracy within it. So it was really fascinating to see how that works and what role the art plays in these museum guards' life, and how they get to spend a lot of time looking at this art if they want to. And so the third part is Bringley's reflections, just sort of little mini art appreciations and art history essays about there's probably about six or seven different works within the art. He does a Madonna and Child. There's a ivory mask from Benin. I think it's the Temple of Dender is one that he goes into and tells you about it and what sort of lessons you can learn from it. So it's not a long book, and he's very good company on a long drive, I would say. So if you like the Metropolitan Museum, if you're interested in art, sort of behind the scenes narratives, things like that, I recommend giving it a try. I've spent a lot of time at the Metropolitan Museum of Art when I lived in New York. It's a wonderful institution, and he talks about how he would frequently get asked, "Are these real?" Yes, and everything there is real. Or where are the dinosaurs? Because there is famously the Museum of Natural History on the other side of Central Park, which has dinosaur skeletons and dioramas and things like that, but not the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I always, for me, if you say the city, it means New York, and if you say the museum, it means the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So it was, and I haven't been in a bunch of years, so it was good to spend some time uh, hearing about it. Um, so another thing that I've been reading is Suetonius's The 12 Caesars. This was on my list of classics that I plan to read this year. I'm about halfway through. I just finished with Tiberius. Boy, what a piece of work! And I wanted to share a couple of things. I mean, look, this is a book that was written by Suetonius, a Roman knight and functionary, about the first 11 emperors and Julius Caesar, the dictator who led to the downfall of the Roman Republic. And boy, Julius Caesar, if you are a person who has some kind of hero worship or admiration for Julius Caesar, the 40-page, 50-page biography on him in here will disabuse you. He is a total monster. Augustus also, I mean, his name itself is this is the great guy, right? But you get look. One of the things about Suetonius that they say is, he usually chose like the worst versions of history to put into it, and I think I'm always going to imagine Augustus as Brian Blessed in the in the as portrayed by Brian Blessed in the I Claudius miniseries. Um, but it's hard to imagine him personally poking someone's eyes out as Suetonius says that he did. Um, and I mean, these ancient Romans, they assassinated and executed people at the drop of a hat. It's um it's chilling to think about the parallels to a certain contemporary republic that is flirting with dictatorship. I won't mention which one, but Yeah, it can be troubling reading. When you get into Tiberius, who was the second emperor, the one who came after Caesar, Tiberius does not get a lot of admiration from most people. He was highly corrupt, very perverted, and power mad, and he established the custom of the emperors living in a villa on Capri, an island off the coast of Italy, and he mostly liked to stay there and not go to Rome. And he lived on top of a bluff, and it was convenient for him to have people who displeased him hurled off a cliff, and then some soldiers down at the bottom would club them to make sure that they were thoroughly. Geez, I mean these people. Anyway, here is a poem about Tiberius that I found interesting. And it makes reference to Sulla and Marius and Antony, who were other earlier Roman generals who sort of challenged the state, who in one time or another rebelled against the Roman state and tried to overthrow it, but during the Republican era. So here is a Sulla, men of Rome, surnamed Sulla the Fortunate, to your misfortune. Here is a Marius, come back at last to capture Rome. Here is an Antony, uncivilly provoking civil strife. His hands thrice dyed in costly Roman blood. Confess, Rome is no more. All who return to reign from banishment reign bloodily. So, hopefully, not a prediction of where we are going. I wanted to read to you one more bit from the end. The way that Suetonius writes is it's not really a chronicle. So he'll start off by talking about the family of this of whatever figure he's writing about, and then he'll talk about his political career, and then maybe his military career, and then his personal habits. So it kind of goes in these sort of thematic sections. Tiberius, he tells us, was very bookish for this total creep, and he was deeply devoted to Greek and Latin literature. And it says that his writing was really kind of overdone, and I guess we might say purple these days. He likes to get very fancy, or fancier than his abilities. So there's not much of his writing, if any, survives. I don't know. But he liked to have scholars and philosophers come and stay at his villa, and he would ask them questions. Let's see. He had a particular bent for mythology, and carried his researches in it to such a ridiculous point that he would test professors of Greek literature, whose society, as I have already mentioned, he cultivated above all others, by asking them questions like, "Who was Hecuba's mother? What name did Achilles assume when he was among the girls? What song did the sirens sing?" And I was reading that, and I'm like, that sounds really familiar. Those questions about what name did Achilles assume when he was among the girls, and what song did the sirens sing? Like, where is that from? This is one of these things that, years ago would have been really vexing, and I thought maybe this is from T.S. Eliot. Might have, sounded like something he might have thrown in. It turns out it's from the I know it from the epigraph to The Murders in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe. But it's a quote from Sir Thomas Browne's Urn Burial. And this is a work I'd heard of. I didn't know anything about it. But it's sort of it's from the 17th century. Thomas Browne is an English writer in the 17th century. And it was kind of an early, I guess, maybe in anthropology, because he learned about these old Anglo-Saxon vases in which people were interred. And so he wrote, I guess it's a book about this, ancient burial practices and what it tells us about humanity and our ideas about eternity and such. But the quote from Poe is it's an epigraph to the murders of the Rue Morgue, and Thomas Brown says these questions, what song the sirens sang, what name Achilles assumed among the girls, was are things that we can figure out. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it to hand right at the moment, and yeah. So I mean, obviously that is a setup for the depiction of Dupin and how he can figure everything out just by thinking through it in the right way, by his ratiocination. Of course, for the Tiberius, these are questions that he knows, and he just wants to see if these Greek professors know the answer. So it's kind of interesting how the same question, whether you know it or whether you don't know it. It seems that Brown assumes that these are eternal mysteries. Anyway, just wanted to come on and share these rambling ruminations with you all. I hope you're reading something good. I am embarked upon the books of Jacob, or the books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuck, on a read along with Stalking Kafka and Jess and a great group of people on Voxer. We're like in our second week, so if you want to join that, look up Stalking Kafka's channel, and all the details are there. It's a really great sort of historical novel so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'll talk more about it in another one. I've got the Brothers Karamazov on deck for next month, so we'll see. And also for starting next month, I could not resist the 1001 Nights read along to take set to take a year and a half. So I got myself a copy. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.